Now, are you ready? Now we've actually become Hollywood / the mainstream, because now even awards season is just everyone basically like, you're a piece of shit, corrupt arsehole, bastard who hates the industry and denigrates everything I love and hold dear. Actually, what am I talking about awards season? That's just politics. It's election season money. That's what we're doing now. And if you vote for him, you hate America and want it all to die in a gulag. We're just talking about who player of the year is. Yeah, exactly. You would say that, you biased, vile piece of shit. You know, the one I'll never understand, Monty, is I always do feel bad for you, because in League, I've realised something now, mate. This might be a mad epiphany, but in League, I always thought, well, in League, you are a known figure. And in the early days, when the scene was very, very tame and esports wasn't filled with drama, you were considered spicy, believe it or not, back then. You were actually considered like, oh, he's a bit of a firebrand. He's got, just because you had your own opinions, by the way, like, not riot. Now, obviously, listen, Monty, when you ride with me in a wingman formation, listen, I've thrown a lot of flack out there, so you won't look as spicy in the coming years, and people might actually think you're the reasonable one, etc. But I've noticed this did remind me that you just do get bundled in with everything I do, which is the downside of being associated with me. Same with Dom. So even though what's mad is, I know Dom also, obviously, if you go back, by the way, if you go back like 5 years, yeah, Dom was pretty spicy, but he's got way milder, you know. Like I actually think, by the way, the irony is Dom still has this rep that he has crazy hot takes. I actually think he's got the most reasonable takes of almost any Western figure.
Basically,
like he's actually, he's the guy where he'll give way more to like the faker stands that we do, mate. Like we'll say fakers also, but he'll even try to sort of be like, I'm not trying to hate on them guys. Like even still on that one, he's still trying to like save fucking vampires at this point in time. Dom, they can't be, they've been turned, bro. It's over, they're dead. Like your loved one is gone. You can only put a stake through the heart, mate. Like that's figuratively, obviously, on Twitch.tv in Minecraft. So anyway, my point is like these people, like they always go, Monty. It's one thing when they go, Thorin's a incel. That they all say about you now. Like people like you and Dom are in that mix. Like, now even Cadril, by the way, Cadrill's been playing like a children's TV entertainer for the last 3 years, just doing all the shit you guys want, bouncing around like, hey guys, great energy. And then you're like, he's a vile incel piece of shit trying to denigrate Faker's legacy. He fucking loves Faker. He's done everything he can to glaze him for you, the idiot fan, and you're hating him. So I don't know how do you ever wonder how you get roped into some of this shit, mate? Because you haven't even said it. It's like anything Dom does is Dom, me, and you did it. Anything I do is me, Dom, you. And then now Cadrill's getting in this group. Like, is anyone left? Is everyone just cursed? Are they all tainted by association at this point? What's going on?
I just find it funny because Cadril has been, like, honestly, he has been trying to walk the line of pleasing the fan bases.
He's doing a good job.
What I mean?
He did a very sort of shrewd job. Like, put it this way, you know that concept, Monty, from the Bible of like, I'm all things to all men. He was doing an awesome job of that. That's why he was the most popular sort of co-streamer. But it is crazy because you'd think he was like, he had my opinions. It's like, well, actually, Rookie's the best of all time and Fake shouldn't win anything. Like, you would think it was my opinions, bro. It's like they're going crazy on this guy. I still think he's a massive T1 fan, obviously.
Oh, of course. And like, look, he obviously has close ties to the org. I mean, remember in Korea last year when he was literally streaming from the T1 facility.
I remember if they hadn't have been in the final and he wasn't doing that joke thing of I support the shy and Weibo, he probably would have done the whole tournament with me. Like, he was obviously like in for it. By the way, what do you think of that though? What do you think of the fact that you get dragged into it all now?
I mean, I've always been dragged into it. So it doesn't change at all. And if anything, I have been highly critical of the T1 overglazing, I would say, because it messes with esports history. And I mean, that pisses me off, but I know it pisses you off even more because you are the esports historian. And when we get these, it was one thing, I will say this, it was one thing to have the esports awards, which are they even esports awards anymore? Because they seem like streamer awards with some esports tacked onto them. They don't really seem very esportsy. They're more about content creators. So that has been perverted by, a drift away from esports, where if you're going to call yourself the esports awards, why are we giving away streamer of the year to random streamers, you know what I mean, who have nothing to do with esports?
They probably also, in these esports awards, if you think of it now, should have just had individual game awards anyway, you know what I mean? Like, it is dumb to just have, you've got PC player that you just won an award for, like, the player of the year. What are you talking about? Like,
but you see, we don't have time. We don't have time for LoL player of the year and CS player of the year because we have to give away streamer of the year to somebody who's unaffiliated with esports whatsoever.
Yeah.
And look, the word esports awards.
Win, because if I didn't win, I'm not coming. And then when they go, yeah, come, I love esports. And if not, they're like, fuck the esports awards.
Well, like, they use the word esports like a boomer uses esports, which is just to mean streaming games.
Yes.
on Twitch.
Oh,
right?
no, that's great. You've just made me realize you're right. The Esports Awards is just that boomer in real life. Like, oh, Esports. My son watches Fortnite on Twitch. And you're like, no, I'm working in like, Counter-Strike and games. Yeah. One time he won a battle, right? Winner, chicken dinner. It's like, oh, that's the other one there, Grandad. That's PUBG. No, he did though. He won one once. He was third in the world. And you're like, right, I have to go. I've got my trains here. You don't know what you're talking about, boomer. Get me out of here. That is the Esports Award. You're like, and moment of the year, is it this COD clip or is it this other Rocket League clip? And you're like, I don't watch these games. That's the thing that actually does get me, Monty. I am like immersed in esports. Some would say I've not only lived esports, but are you ready? I am esports. And I watched that award show and I'm like, am I just not following the scene? Why is everything like Rocket League, FIFA, Call of Duty? Like, I don't follow these games. Like, where's all the shit I'm following? And like, am I just in a bubble or something? Turns out I actually am in a bubble. I don't know if anyone knew that. I am indeed in a bubble.
a glorious bubble. So, I mean, but this doesn't even go into the fact that obviously the Esports Awards has been extremely compromised by people who are on the panel, like myself and Thorin and Richard Lewis, i.e. the people with decades of esports experience have left the panel because of their questionable practices, as well as the fact that they are now just taking money shamelessly from Saudi Arabia. They canceled the Journalist of the Year award, by the way, that Thorin has won. Richard's won, what, twice? Three times? Three times? Yeah. They just canceled the award this year because any logical person would have said that they should give it to James Fudge from the Esports Advocate. And he is a vehement anti-Saudi propaganda person, so they couldn't give that away. And also other people who would inevitably be nominated for it, yourself, Richard Lewis.
I wouldn't, but Richard would be obviously, yeah, of course. And obviously, by the way, it's implied he's blacklisted from everything ESL related, so I don't think he would have been on it, yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, this was obviously rolled into, like, the Esports Award was then rolled into the Saudi Arabian Esports World Cup. But, of course, they had a secondary one that was supposed to be in Los Angeles, where supposedly we could safely give a Journalist of the Year award even to somebody who is critical of the Saudi Arabian government. But no, they just canceled that award entirely. So, I mean, their credibility is obviously zero right now. And the people who are on the panel have no real way to judge many of the most popular esports games because they don't have people who know those games really on that panel anymore. So, I mean, it's kind of a wasteland at this point in time. So this is all to say, I wasn't surprised when, you know, Faker won PC Player of the Year over there because people are clueless and they just think, oh, wow, look at these plays in the last two games of Worlds. He must be the greatest PC Player of the Year.
Also, you know this, Monty, as someone who was on the panel, I've always said unfortunately, it was always, listen, I know people aren't going to want to hear this because it sounds like I am esports again, doesn't it? But I am esports because if you don't know, people like me, Monty and Richard were the load-bearing structures of the fucking panel. Like, if you were there in any of those calls, Monty, I'm not even the league person. I mean, I am, but you know what I mean? I'm not like Shocks or whatever. I used to be explaining league things to people who were like fucking COD people or Rocket League people. And so essentially that award, this is why Faker is the ultimate bait to ruin those awards, because he was the GOAT. Everyone in the other games has heard of him and knows about him. If they hear things like he won Worlds last year and this year, it sounds like he's the best again. And so then basically, since they didn't watch him play, I know it sounds weird to you people, but most of the people on the panel, by definition, haven't watched the other people they're voting on because they're just watching their game. So unfortunately, it would be essentially like, here's the analogy, right? Obviously, Simple just did a recent comeback in CS2, right? Imagine if his team had sort of fluked the major and he didn't even play well, but everyone in the other games like COD was like, oh, Simple's on there. Oh, I know Simple, he's goated. And then they all voted for Simple because they're like, it must be right? Simple to goat. So in a weird way, the Esports Awards, actually Faker always was going to be the one that would take you down, because if you didn't watch the games, it's still Faker, right? It makes sense that you vote for him, and that seems like a totally legit vote, even though the irony is, it's actually rarely, this is why I hate the thing so much, Monty, is because you know what, it's actually, even though you ruin an esports history when you give like a bad player an award, the lucky thing is, in history, they will stand out like a sore thumb when you look at an MVP and you go, oh, that guy. There's been a few in the NFL and the NBA over the years where you're like, really? Like, that seems like a weird media angle. The problem is, when you put the GOAT there, it just makes the GOAT look like they had an even better career than they did. You know what I mean? Like, you actually do muddy the water, because obviously he was the most deserving player ever, and probably for the most years, but now you've given him fake fakers. Same thing happened to Messi with the Ballon d'Or, by the way. And to his fans, they don't care. It's just more blood for the blood god, more trophies, more goat shit. It's like, no, that's actually worse, because what's stupid is you now, in theory, this won't, look, hopefully this won't happen. But what you haven't thought about if you're a Faker fan is, bro, what if someone saw that in history he won these Player of the Years, like at the end, and watched a few games and went, oh, that was just how good he was. That was that. Like, what happens, Monty, if they just randomly tune into like I'll look in the year he won Player of the Year. Let me have a look how he did in the summer playoffs. This is their GOAT. Fuck, League is a shit game, and this guy's not even that good. What the fuck? I thought this guy was the best ever. It would actually undercut his whole career. You'd think he wasn't that good, mate. Because this implies he had a second renaissance where he was still the best player in the world twice in a row. And also, do you know the angle I should have hit harder? I actually did fuck up, Monty. I made this too much about Faker. Here's the political angle it should have been. My platform doesn't work, Monty, because you can't have a platform that goes, you know the GOAT that you all love, let's give him less awards. That'll never be a popular platform, will it? Do you know what the angle I should have taken was? You're actually not a T1 fan. You, in fact, hate T1 because you're stealing awards from Zeus and Keria or Gumayushi or Owner. You're just saying they can... Because I will ask this question for real to any expert, Monty. Any expert who says things like, oh, it's about more than just award. By the way, every other Player of the Year award was, Player of the Year, the one who played the best. Magically, when it's Faker, Monty, it's like, what about his impact on the game? And in many ways, isn't he carrying... What are we even talking about right now? So I'll just ask this question. How is it actually possible in those lineups, if you are Zeus, Owner, Gumayushi or Keria, to ever win an award? You can't. You can't be the best player on the team. They did that. You can't be the MVP of the set. You can't. That doesn't work. Essentially, if you win, Faker wins no matter what. Because the problem is, obviously, this year I did the game-winning players. Last year, he didn't even do the bro. Like, I don't even know what we're doing at this point in time. Like, I actually feel like that's actually fucked up for them. Like, it makes it look for real. They were his Sand Soldiers, bro. He was just the GOAT, and then they were just minions doing whatever. Like, I think for someone like Zeus, that's fucking gross, mate. You're really good. By the way, I was dissing you when you lost to King, so I have to give you the props when you win the fucking World Championship. You got it, mate.
And I think, when we compare it to last year, and I think it's clear he was less deserving of the Player of the Year award last year, because so there's several things we have to take into consideration here. So at the start of 2023 in spring, you could have said T1 is the best team in the world during that period, right? That was a split. Yeah. That was a split that they were doing.
In the regular split, they were awesome. It's just like Hanwha came alive in the Genji came alive in the playoffs, didn't they? They just got it going, yeah.
So, Faker had a really legitimate split in the spring, but by the summer he was injured for a third half of the split. And I don't care who you are, guys. You don't vote for MVPs of players who are injured. That's not something that happens in sports.
It's weird, isn't it? Yeah.
Imagine if a player was to miss a third of a season or half a season in sports. How could they possibly get the MVP? Because it doesn't really matter how well they played for the rest of it, or if they came back and they won the title. It's inconceivable because they just didn't actually play enough games. So he gets to Worlds and he does a pretty good job at Worlds, but he's not the MVP of the World Finals. It's not like this year where you could say he clutched it.
Here's the problem. One, because he was facing all those amazing mid laners, like on paper, remember at that Worlds, he faced like Scout, who was the MVP of the LPL, into Knight, who everyone was saying was like one of the best in the world, into even though Zhao, who wasn't like at his best last year, like he's a historic player, he's the LPL GOAT or whatever. So I think the problem is, one, the players he played make it look like Faker must have been better. And then secondly, we all remember the amazing players he made in the JDG series. Everyone's just remembering that one moment and they're thinking like, just like this year, he was like the MVP. The difference is, I'm with you. You could make a way better case that he was like the MVP of this Worlds than he was of that one. I think for that one, by the way, it's just the Zeus show. He just doesn't Zeus just clap
Zeus was deservedly got the finals MVP. Yeah.
Think of his list. He goes Zika, who at the time was on a heater, into fucking 369. Everyone said couldn't be beaten, into fucking the Shy, who was actually having a pretty good tournament that once. Like, I actually think that's what I mean. Zeus can't win, bro. What can Zeus do to win this award? He can't. I don't assassinate Faker in Minecraft on Twitch.tv.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.